Chicken, 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 and chicken.
This is chicken, but not as we know it.
This chicken, though, is a little bit different. It was grown in a lab.
Cultured meat.
Lab-grown chicken.
A lab-grown chicken nuggets.
Chicken grown in a lab.
U.S. regulators have approved the sale of chicken made from animal cells.
Lab-made animal protein from the companies Good Meat and Upside Foods is now clear for production and sale in the U.S.
Cultured meat, lab-grown meat, clean meat is identical to conventional meat at the cellular level, just grown in a lab. This lab-grown meat is not just a plant-based alternative like the Impossible Burger.
The cultivated meat will be grown in steel tanks using cells from a living animal, fertilized egg, or special band of stored cells.
Without environmental destruction, without diseases, without animal suffering.
We make meat without killing a cow.
You don't have to kill a chicken to eat chicken.
Why are people making it?
Climate change.
It's better for the environment.
The environment.
It seems as though that the mission statement behind all of this is, hey, we're going to give you the taste of meat, but it's better for you and it's better for the planet.
Lab meat is not going to save the planet or the animals. So then why has $3 billion been invested into lab meat startups? Well, to understand the full picture, we'll first have to take a look at the science of why scaling lab meat is not practical at all. Second, we'll look at why no one will be able to afford it. Third, why it could be worse for the environment. And finally, whether the public and investors are being misled by unrealistically optimistic stories.
This meat, it's incredibly unsustainable, but we figured out a way to solve it, and we're going to have to do it if we want to continue living on this planet.
So either we accept this or we all become vegetarian.
It's better for the world.
At first, I was really optimistic about lab meat. It made so much sense. Growing just a steak instead of a whole cow seemed to be way more efficient. But then I started looking into it, and it made less and less sense. To take cells from a cow or chicken and grow them quickly, they need to be put in a very expensive custom-made bioreactor, filled with a specially formulated liquid made with purified water, growth factors, purified amino acids, glucose, and salts. A cow just needs rainwater and grass. The facility and the bioreactor need to be totally sterile because a tiny amount of bacteria or virus could ruin the whole batch, wasting tons of money. A cow has an immune system, so it can just lay in the dirty grass outside. A huge challenge to growing cells quickly inside of a bioreactor is developing ways to efficiently deliver oxygen and nutrients to each cell, while removing waste products like ammonia, lactate, and CO2. A cow, on the other hand, handles all this really easily with lungs, blood vessels, and its liver. There's a lot more to this picture, but the point is it's very expensive to try and do what a cow, chicken, or pig does.
In a Singapore restaurant, there's a recent addition to the menu. This is chicken, but not as we know it.
The lab meat company Eat Just was actually selling lab-grown chicken nuggets straight to consumers in Singapore. But those cost upwards of $50 each to make. For that same price, about 1,500 nuggets could be made from conventional chicken meat. The most common justification for lab meat is that we need it to prevent conventional meat from destroying the planet.
And what is the problem that we try to solve by cultivated meat?
So that we have a planet to inhabit.
President Biden signed an executive order this year requiring federal agencies to support cultivating alternative food sources.
Ezra Klein, founder of the hugely popular news media company Vox, wrote an article arguing that we need government funding into plant-based protein and lab meat to save the planet from climate change.
And we need government support to get there.
But you're getting all these people like pushing the government to fund this.
As soon as you show me it's better for the environment and there's like positive impacts, let's fund it. It's fine. But I do not see that.
On the other hand, Dr. Derek Reisner points out in his PhD dissertation that despite all the hype and investment that has already been poured into lab meat, a detailed assessment of whether lab meat is actually better for the environment has not been properly done.
No big deal.
Welcome, family, to another edition of Stranger Thinking Media. This is Yeshayahu, where we bring you the gospel of Yahushua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ, to address the problems of the modern world. And today's topic, Too many farting cows. Problem reaction solution 6. That's actually not the title of the video, but I thought I'd throw that in there. Topic 1 is more-ish. Not more-ish, but more-ish. I think we know what that means. We go to Leviticus 26, chapter 26, verse 27. And if you will not for all this hearken unto me, but walk contrary unto me, then I will walk contrary unto you also in fury, and I, even I, will chastise you 7 times for your sins. And ye shall eat the flesh of your sons and the flesh of your daughters shall ye eat, and I will destroy your high places and cut down your images, and cast your carcasses upon the carcasses of your idols. And my soul shall abhor you, and I will make your cities waste, and bring your sanctuaries unto desolation, and I will not smell the savor of your sweet odors. Welcome, family, to another edition. So I'm in this series called Problem Reaction Solution, and the last video we did in this series, we introduced the craziest, well, I don't want to call it crazy, just let's say I was very unsettled by it. Lab-grown meats, but that was taken to another extreme. It was actually human cells that they used to make human steaks, and it was just incredible. I mean, a lot of ingenuity went into that, but how did we get to this point? We've been eating beef and lamb and chicken for 6,000 years, and all of a sudden, just all of a sudden, it's the cow's fault. It's the cow's fault that the ozone is being depleted, or that there's greenhouse gases being created. It's the cow's fault. I just look at the at some of the people they were interviewing in these videos, and they were just excited as all get out, and towing the line. Like, the purpose of this is, if we want a planet to inhabit, we must stop eating meat. Yeah, that's why, there's greenhouse gases, because it's the cows. Well, I have a solution. If it's the cows causing this greenhouse or producing these greenhouse gases because they're farting too much or whatever, I have a solution. Let's kill half of them and eat them. And let's do it on a continual basis. And there'll be less cows farting. I'm just, this type of stuff just kind of irks me. And it's not, I almost expect the people in power to try to pull some fast one, because they're trying to get rich. They're trying to rule the world, make that money, get that bag is what they say now, right? Get that bag. You expect them to do that. What you don't expect is average Joe Blow to sit there, and I've heard him say it, I don't mind eating fake meat. Man, the level you have to be at to all of a sudden go, yeah, all meat is bad. One of the most nutritionally dense foods human beings intake. But this has been a long time coming. First you got the people who are, I'm a vegan. I don't want to see animals die, whatever. But when the Europeans got to America, especially when they got to the plains, they saw those buffaloes and how healthy those Native Americans were, because when they got hungry and they wanted food, they'd go out there, hunt down one buffalo. One buffalo would probably feed them for months, I'm guessing. I'm making that up. But my point is, all over the earth, every human being, every tribe, everybody recognize that cows. You know, we can talk about it biblically. The Bible tells you these are the things you can eat. Now, from the Garden of Eden, you know, they could eat of every fruit. There's a different scenario. And eventually we'll get back to that scenario, but now is not the time. But once they were removed, Adam and Eve were removed from the Garden of Eden, then it was on. You know, wild animals were eating other animals. I mean, it became a thing. And that's all part of the fall, it is. But Yah recognizes it, which is why, I mean, if you could not eat meat, then the Levitical priests would have died, because guess what? When they were sacrificing, guess where that meat was going? So what you found is a lot of, I'm thinking of, I can't remember which priest it was, got so fat that he found out that the ark was taken, he fell over backwards and died. He's so heavy he couldn't even gain his balance. But that was a thing, the priests were eating meat, right? Because they had no land. So the priests had to eat of the sacrifices. That wasn't just meat going to waste. People were eating it. So anyway, and again, if you look at the Plains Indians, they subsisted. You're living in a kind of a desertish environment. There wasn't a lot of farming in some places, but you could sustain yourself through what? Eating the buffalo. And I don't think anybody today can actually, with a straight face, say that those people were somehow, they were unnatural. They were, the Plains Indians, the Native Americans in general, are about as close to the earth and creation as you could get. And we, driving our SUVs, you know what I'm saying? We're running around driving our SUVs, talk about a carbon footprint, the pot calling the kettle black. I guarantee that Native American eating that buffalo was producing a lot less carbon emissions than you, Missy, in your SUV. So stop the madness. Oh, you're a vegan. Yo, good for you. I've seen people, this is just my personal observation. I've seen people who are vegans, and to me, they don't look that healthy. Kind of jaundicey. That's what I see. Nothing in the scriptures say you cannot eat meat. In fact, there's a whole thing about what meats you should eat and what meats you should not eat. And, that goes along with what they call the dietary laws. But in fact, meat is a nutritionally dense item. And we've been eating it almost since day one, at least since day one of being kicked out the garden. But anyway, I'm just I want to do some videos trying to detail. It's hard to do because if you're mentally in the matrix, you can't be unplugged. Some people just cannot be unplugged. And then some people get unplugged and they're like, want to go back in when reality hits them in the face, right? That's my thing now. I've been watching these movies, Matrix movies, and it's just making so much sense to me. And for anybody who wants to be a screenwriter or something like that, I know there's AI is about to push you out of your job, but most good writers, screenwriters, or just, people who write novels, especially like fantasy, it's usually people like who have a really good working knowledge of the Bible, because subconsciously, and whether, I always laugh when I hear people say, well, I don't go to church and I don't read the Bible, but I think I'm a good person. Or you even hear atheists say, I think I'm a good person. Well, inherent to that argument is what? You think you're a good person based on what? What is your standard? Turns out, most of these people, the standard that they're actually using, even though they're claiming not to believe in the Most High, they don't believe in a creator, but the standard that they are using actually comes out of the scriptures. And it's subconscious, and it's cultural, and they don't even realize what they're saying. So if you were a Klingon, for you, all you Trekkies out there, if you were a Klingon, if you killed 100 people a day, that might be good in their culture. What's your standard? Remember the Klingons would say it's a good day to die and stuff like that. They were completely a warrior, aggressor nation, or confederation of planets or whatever. But what is your standard when you say you're a good person? You got to have a standard. And even if you think you're an atheist or something, you have been immersed in this culture and this standard. Western culture actually has a biblical base to it. And more other things to go with that, But if you're saying you're a good person, it's because you're referencing your mainframe in your mind is referencing a standard, which you grew up with, whether you realize it or not. And that standard is the scriptures, the Hebrew scriptures, what you would call the Bible, right? But anyway, I digress a little bit. So anyway, if people cannot see, and the more I think about things and see things, the less faith I have in human beings. It just really just amazes me that all these things could go on. Like, I can see it coming, and I know a lot of people who can see it coming. But for the majority, if you try to convince them, it's like Green Acres, man. They think you're the crazy one. And I just look at them sideways like, wow, you don't see this coming and you're okay with this. So when it happens, you can't complain, because I can guarantee this. The power brokers of the world, while you're eating lab-grown whatever, or impossible type or vegetable burgers or whatever, I guarantee the people feeding you this stuff, and I've even heard them talk about, oh, bugs are good protein. Okay, hint, that we may get down to that. We'll be eating bug burgers. But I guarantee the people pushing this stuff, who are making all the money off of this stuff, they'll be sitting back eating steak, laughing at you, calling you, just laughing at you, eating your bug burger. I mean, can't you see it? Can't you guys just see? It's just hilarious to me. It would be hilarious if it wasn't so sad. But anyways, I'm not going to belabor this. The powers that be that govern what I can say on this platform. But I think at this point, it's obvious. You're telling us what you're going to do, what you're planning to do. You're spending billions for lab-grown startups, lab-grown meat startups. So that you're telling us what you're going to do. And when I'm asking the people out there, are you really okay with this? I mean, don't you have a say in this? Or do you agree that you don't have a say in it? And if you don't have a say in it, and you agree to not have a say in it, then you get what you get. It's like that person at the front of the boat gets mad at everybody and punch, and I'll show them. I'll punch a hole in the front of the boat just to teach them a lesson. And as the boat sinks, they realize, oh, I'm going down with everybody else. Yeah. You know what? Stop poking holes in the boat. Keep this boat floating. I mean, I never thought that we'd ever be in a situation where we'd actually be saying the way to save the planet is to stop eating meat. No, it's not stop driving cars. It's not stop drilling oil wells and having oil spills and oil slicks all over the place. No, it's not the nuclear waste that we produce, and it's not nuclear bombs, and it's not, I won't even talk about the other stuff, because they really, clamp down on you if you talk about that other stuff. But, there's a lot worse things going on in the world, and I don't think me eating meat is causing the destruction of the earth. I just don't think so. And I find it interesting that Western countries, after all they've done to the environment, because it's not Joe Blow, little tribesmen in Africa, that is destroying the environment. It's not that guy. The very people who are writing the rules are the very people, who the people who industrialized America and England in the first place. Those types. Yeah, because that's when it all went to crap. Up till that point, everybody was pretty much agrarian. Everybody. Wait a minute. Everybody on the planet, like 97% of the people, were self-employed, mostly through farming. So wait a minute. Back then, everybody was farmers, and we had no problems with global warming? Nope. Apparently not. And everybody was a farmer. So now we're down to like 0.01% of the population of Earth or whatever. I don't know that number, but very few people now are farmers. And yet farms are being blamed for the environment going to crap, for global, for greenhouse gases and, the global warming. How is it? It just does not. So, somebody make that make sense. Everybody 200 years ago was a farmer, basically. Just 200 years ago, everybody was a farmer, and we did not have global warming. Now, very few people are farmers, and we have massive global warming. So why are we blaming the farmers? Doesn't make sense. Make that make sense to me. Come on, people. Make that make sense. And I can keep going. I can go on forever on this topic. But anyway, we have choices to make. You can stick your head in the sand and just continue to let things go haywire. But there's a point where money, what is money? What's it worth to you? Your family's worth more than money. Right? Your friends are worth more than money. How much money do you need? I know millionaires will only spend $10 a day because there's nothing to buy, right? You're picking up what I'm putting down. How much can you really spend? Does a billionaire? How can people be billionaires and pushing trillionaire status now? We're getting there. And there's homeless people, starving people. I know. I'm on my soapbox. Some people just can't help. They're poor for a reason. They're homeless for a reason. Well, not everybody is homeless because they're not trying. Some people, especially now, are finding themselves homeless and they got jobs. So we need to fix us. We need to fix us first. Anyways. Isaiah 9. Through the wrath of the Lord of hosts is the land darkened, and the people shall be as the fuel of the fire. No man shall spare his brother, and he shall snatch on the right hand and be hungry, and he shall eat on the left hand, and they shall not be satisfied. They shall eat every man the flesh of his own arm. Well, family, I love you all so much. And thank you so much for continually supporting my content. If you did enjoy this video, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. And share this with your friends and family. I'm sure they'd find it interesting as well. I'm very excited to continue this journey with you. I thank you all for bringing certain stories to my attention and for continually keeping me updated with certain events around the world. I very much appreciate you all, and shout out to the channel members. And may everybody have a beautiful and blessed day using the body of Messiah, Yahushua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ of Nazareth. And I'll see you on the next video. Shalom.